Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Raising Cane's studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Studio downtown in the capital city, but right here on Radio Row in Tampa, Florida, SEC Media Days 2026. And fired up you are here. Got Cassie Spazzali and Jordan Kitchens back there on the ones and twos in Baton Rouge, and we have got a loaded 2 hours for you from Tampa. Coming up in 15 minutes, really excited to sit down with Mr. College Football Tony Barnhart. Got a new book coming out later on this summer, and we'll talk some SEC history with Tony. David Epps is the president and CEO of the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. He'll be with us at 1:30. Chris Marlar's going to stop in and talk a little South Carolina. Bryce Kuhn, old buddy from the Baton Rouge area, but back now home in Georgia covering the Bulldogs, so we'll talk to Bryce at 2 o'clock. Jason Caldwell covers Auburn. We'll be with him probably at 2:30, it sounds like. And we got to go in-depth chart with LSU's linebacker group. So plenty to cover over the next 2 hours. Fired up to be here. Fired up you are here. Let's get things rolling with our opening drive.
Welcome to the big league.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive. Presented by Fabry Chevrolet GMC in St. Francisville.
You know, it's a light day for our local coverage. This is not a day where LSU is here. Obviously, the Tigers will be here on Thursday. And of the 4 teams that are going through the car wash today, only one is on LSU's schedule. LSU will not play South Carolina this year. LSU will not play Georgia this year. LSU will not play Vanderbilt this year. All 3 of those teams here today. Tigers will play Auburn for the first time in 3 years this year. So that's the only team that's on LSU's schedule. But, of course, like I mentioned, LSU did not play Auburn the last couple of days. So from a local perspective, there's not a ton of storylines. But I did want to get a little bit of perspective from the Georgia contingent on taking on Lane Kiffin, because we know that Georgia and Ole Miss have played each other in the last 2 regular seasons. And, of course, in the Sugar Bowl, the college football playoff in the quarterfinal last year. And Ole Miss had a lot of success against Georgia. I had a chance to talk with Georgia linebacker Rylan Wilson, and he talked about dealing with the pace and the tempo that Ole Miss plays with. There were a lot of cliches in the answer, and I didn't find it compelling enough to put on radio. But I did find Kirby Smart's comments on Lane Kiffin to be fascinating. So we'll play those for you here, and then I'll kind of react to just what Kirby Smart is talking about as he faced Lane Kiffin and Charlie Weiss's offense 3 times in the last 2 years.
I don't like having to play his teams because I know what he knows, and I know how he thinks about defenses, and he knows what he's doing. But he's also passionate about his family and so proud of his dad, and he probably tweets and talks more about that on our thread of like memories or players. Derek Brooks sending him a text about his dad, and just, you know, when you don't have a dad to share that with, because I've gone through that, you got to have a group to share that with to get your like self-worth and your motivation. And I think him sharing those things reminds me a lot of times of my dad. And it's like you want somebody to appreciate what your dad did, and you don't have him to share that with.
So that was interesting on 2 levels. One, obviously Kirby Smart and Lane Kiffin have a close personal relationship. Their time together dates back to Alabama when they were on Nick Saban's staff as a defensive coordinator and the offensive coordinator, and it's extended as they're now head coaches in the Southeastern Conference, and they do communicate significantly, and that's an interesting aspect, sure. But I also, on the field, loved the part where right at the top of that bite, he goes, I don't like playing against his teams because I know what he knows. And that's something that Lane Kiffin has talked about a lot over the course of the last couple of years, talking about his upbringing in football, being around Monty Kiffin, his dad, for as long as he was, and that's one of the great defensive minds in football history, being around Pete Carroll, who is also one of the great minds in defensive football history, national champion at USC, Super Bowl champion with the Seahawks. He was also around, obviously, Nick Saban, one of the greatest coaches defensively in the history of football. And so to have the perspective of being around those guys, and to an extent Kirby Smart, that's a fascinating upbringing in the world of football. And I was looking back at last year, and you look at Georgia's defense, which was very, very good. Ole Miss averaged 37.5 points per game against Georgia over those two games. They scored 39 in the Sugar Bowl. They scored 35 in the regular season game. They scored a touchdown on their first 5 offensive drives, 3 75-yard touchdowns and 2 65-yard touchdowns on Georgia's defense in Athens. That has never happened to a Kirby Smart defense. It did via the Ole Miss offense last year with Lane Kiffin and Charlie Weiss Jr. And then you realize that while Ole Miss averaged 37.5 points per game in 2 tries against that Georgia defense, the other 12 Georgia opponents averaged 14.3 points per game. Again, Ole Miss, 37.5 points per game. Everyone else, 14.3 points per game. It was a stark difference, and clearly Ole Miss carved up that Georgia defense in a way that no one else did outside of kind of Josh Heupel's Tennessee team, which did put some points on the board in a losing effort. It speaks volumes, and it's something that I think everyone's on the same page, suggesting that Lane Kiffin is going to take this LSU offense and produce big, big point totals. But just hearing one of the best coaches in college football say out loud, like, I don't like playing against his team because he puts us in, he knows a lot about what we're trying to do, and he knows what gives us fits. And Lane has spoken about that on the record on multiple occasions. So that's the local angle of this that I decided to take for LouisianaSports.net today in looking at teams that have played Ole Miss and how much of a nightmare it is to try to get ready for this offense. And we all think that that's coming in purple and gold this fall, like quickly. There's not a ramp-up time where you've got to, hey, come in, get your guys, get your system. No, in this day and age, you drop the $40 million on the table, you go get the $7 million quarterback or whatever it is, you go get the left tackle who's going to go in the top 15 picks in the draft, you get 9 wide receivers, you bring 2 running backs back, you bring 3 more in, you've got one of the best tight ends in college football right out there, and it's just time to go. It's time to score a bunch of points. And I thought the perspective that the Georgia players and Kirby Smart were able to give on having to deal with that in the huge games last year, including a game they lost in the Superdome, was really cool. I think y'all are aware I was at that game in a non-working capacity, which rarely happens. The amount of times I go into a stadium where I'm not getting a job done is rare. It happens every once in a while for a Saints game, and it happened in that Sugar Bowl, and I was able to go and watch that. And just we were seated low in the upper deck for that game, and watching Ole Miss kind of spread the field, play with their pace, and go up and down the field on Georgia was just kind of surreal, because we've watched Georgia over the years, and you just get used to them just smothering people and it being very, very difficult to move the ball. And Ole Miss just didn't have any issues. Again, I'll repeat what I said at the beginning of that segment. For Ole Miss to go to Athens, Georgia, and score touchdowns on 5 consecutive possessions of 65 yards or more is just amazing. And that's the type of production that we all think that LSU is going to be able to play with this year. Now, it's a different group of characters that are going to be out there. But this is another thing that I've gone back to. It's not like Ole Miss was just like slinging out first-round picks from their offense. Like last year's team produced 1 draft pick on offense, and it was a second-round receiver. The year prior to that, you had Jackson Dart go in the first round, but that's it. It's not like there was so much talent that Lane Kiffin and Charlie Weiss Jr. had at Ole Miss. That's a huge part of the reason why they were scoring as many points as they were and running the football as successfully as they did and throwing the football as successfully. You know, it's the system. The system does it. And for LSU to land Lane Kiffin and to get Charlie Weiss in the boat, because remember, Charlie Weiss got some cold feet there and considered potentially going back to Oxford, and LSU just grabbed another $500,000 out of the kitty and decided, hey, we'll pay you more, just stay here. And he did. And now you're going to have what I believe to be, from week 1, a remarkably potent offense, and hearing the Georgia presence here today talk about that, I thought was really, really cool. It's going to be something to watch in Baton Rouge. And trust me, look, after what we watched offensively the last 2 seasons with the complete ineptitude running the football, with the complete lack of a downfield passing game this past year, with so many massive problems that LSU has had offensively, to have a guy come in that we all just kind of feel like's got his magic wand, that he's just going to come in and fix the whole thing, that's a very comforting feeling. So that's kind of the lead up here with our opening drive here from Radio Row in Tampa, Florida. We're brought to you by FMOL Health, Our Lady of the Lake. We're also brought to you by Parish Construction and Roofing, Relief Windows, and Rev Fiber. Our Tuesday show is brought to you by Immense IT Cloud Management as well. And we're thrilled to be here. It's a busy day, obviously. As I mentioned, the 4 teams that are running through: South Carolina, Georgia, Auburn, and Vanderbilt. We'll have Chris Marler talking South Carolina a little bit later. We'll have Bryce Kuhn talking Georgia a little bit later. We'll have Jason Caldwell talking Auburn a little bit later. I don't know how much Vanderbilt presence is here. Not sure. I haven't seen a Nashville banner around here. Maybe it's time to give a little respect to Clark Lee in the doors, who could have made the playoffs last year. Had a pretty good season. I just listened to him in the big room discussing kind of elevating the program even further. It's a different feel around Vanderbilt, but I'm not sure that the media presence necessarily indicates that. I don't think there's a lot of folks walking around covering Vanderbilt, but we'll see what we can do and maybe chat about them a little bit later on in the show. All right, let's take a timeout. When we come back, Mr. College Football, Tony Barnhart, will be here in just a couple of minutes. Looking forward to that conversation. It is next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
GoTro's Outdoor Power, GoTrosOnline.com. That's GoTrosOnline.com. That grass is growing. It's going to be growing until Halloween. If you need to manage a property, you need a zero-turn mower, GoTro's Outdoor Power has got you covered. 22 years in business, 2 locations, Baton Rouge and Gonzales. When I say family-owned and operated, which they are by the GoTro family, don't think small. They got the largest parts inventory in the state of Louisiana. They got the largest Hustler inventory in the state of Louisiana. National Hustler Dealer of the Year, 2 of the last 3 years. So if you need a zero-turn mower, need one of those Hustlers, get on by and see them. Airline Highway in Baton Rouge, or, of course, in Gonzales as well. It's GoTro's Outdoor Power. They're online at GoTrosOnline.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Chugging right along here from Radio Row in Tampa, Florida. SEC Media Days 2026. 4 teams making their rounds today: South Carolina, Georgia, Auburn, and Vanderbilt. Day 2 of 4-day grind. It's our pleasure now to be joined by Mr. College Football, Tony Barnhart, giving us a little bit of time here. Busy man. I've seen you sitting down at just about every table in this room. How are you?
Well, I'm doing well. We're doing a couple of things this week, Hunt. We're promoting a book. I've got a book that's coming out next spring that we'll talk about, but also I'm here as a spokesman for the Dodd Trophy, which is the Bobby Dodd Coach of the Year, and a special award, and just to let people know all about it. It's different than other Coach of the Year awards in the sense that it's not just winning and losing. It's academic progress. It's community service, and the Dodd Trophy is different in that I'm on the board, and we select the winner, and we go to the campus of the. We're not going to make you come to Atlanta to get the award. We're going to come to you, and you can have a dinner on campus with your family and all the assistant coaches and their families and all that, and so that makes it special. We had Marcus Freeman of Notre Dame was our winner 2 years ago. Spent a great day at Notre Dame and night at Notre Dame. So we're working on those 2 things, and that's keeping us pretty busy.
Well, it's a busy week. We appreciate a little bit of time. Let's talk about the book, because I just want to talk about the contents of that book. 50 years in the Southeastern Conference. Like, what did you just have that idea a couple years ago? Or you always knew that you wanted to kind of encapsulate things at 50 years?
Well, I knew that when I got to my 50th, I wanted to do something special and probably go ahead and. That's a nice time to. My mother said, "How long have you been doing this, son?" I said, "Mom, I've been doing it for 50 years." She said, "Well, that's a nice round number," which was not her way of saying, "Yeah, you probably ought to sit down for a while." But I knew I wanted to do something special on 50th, and I thought it was time to. And I wanted to go ahead and retire, but I wanted to include everybody, and so the way the book is structured, there are 16 teams in the conference. Each school in the conference has its own chapter of my special memory. This is not a situation where these are the 10 greatest players I ever saw, the 10 greatest games I ever saw. Those books have been done. I've written some of those books. This is about December 2nd, 1989, the day that Alabama went to Jordan-Hare Stadium for the first time ever, after Bear Bryant swore as long as he was alive that they would never play at Jordan-Hare. So that was the most emotional football day I've ever been a part of. But it's stuff like that. It's stuff being at the University of Tennessee. I was at Tennessee on the day on 9/11 when the Twin Towers were attacked. And that was Florida-Tennessee week, and I was there. I was working for College Game Day, and I was shooting footage, getting ready for that game. I thought we would just break it up and send it home. They said, no, the players want to do the interviews because we didn't know if we were going to play or not.
Right.
And so we ended up doing that. A great player by the name of Will Overstreet came in, just a great, great player. Had a cell phone in his hand in his practice gear, and I said, Will, what's wrong? He said, my sister's at the Pentagon and I can't find her.
Oh, man.
And so it was that. I will never forget that day. Finally, late in the day, they did connect.
Great.
But when I think of Tennessee, I don't think about all the great games I saw at Neyland, and I saw a lot of great ones. I think about Will Overstreet worried about his little sister.
No question about it. What do you think when you think LSU?
LSU had a great session on 2007 LSU, Florida. At Tiger Stadium. Jacob Hester and I had several long conversations about that game. He had an incredible, and of course everybody remembers that's when Les Miles went for it on 5 times on 4th down and went 5 for 5. It was a great. I talked to a Louisiana State trooper. I said, how many people are not in the stadium? He said at least 45,000. So that was an incredible game.
I was a sophomore at LSU in the student section for that one. It was quite good. Our morning show has some fond memories of that one. I'm curious, over all those years in the Southeastern Conference, is there a program, a stadium, a coach that maybe, or a town that doesn't get the respect that maybe it should?
I think Starkville, Mississippi is a great place to watch a football game. And I've been there a lot. As a matter of fact, when we launched the SEC network in 2014, we had reporters on every campus.
I remember that.
And I was in Starkville and interviewing Dak Prescott at 95 degrees wearing a coat and tie. I think Starkville is one of those neat places. Now, there's nothing like being in Oxford, Mississippi. There's just nothing else like it. The Grove is the original tailgaters, but those, I would say Starkville and Oxford are two ones that I really like. And of course, I have to mention my alma mater, or my daughter, who has 2 degrees from the University of Georgia. If I don't mention them, Dad, you can't leave out Georgia, and so Dad can't leave out.
When I was working for the Reveille, the LSU student paper, back in school, I went to back then there were only 12 teams in the league, and I went to all of them as a student for a football game. And I ranked the towns in the SEC 1 through 12. And Athens was number 1 in a landslide. I love that place, the bars, the restaurants right there downtown, right off campus.
Have you been there lately?
I've not been to Athens since the Mettenberger-Murray game in 13.
It's amazing what they've done to the downtown. They've really spruced it up, and it's
Little Italy Pizza still there?
You know what? I don't know. I've been
there a few times. About 3 in the morning.
Downtown Athens is just, well, my daughter, who's been out of college for a long time, she's an attorney. And I promise you, if she could move back to Athens tomorrow, she would. That's how much she loves the place.
It's a great, great town. I'm assuming you haven't paid to go to a football game in a minute, but if you had to buy one ticket to see one player over the course of these 50 years, who's the one guy that stands out to you?
Herschel Walker in 1980 was the best football player I've ever seen. Because people could not believe that he was doing what he was doing. He was running over people and outrunning people, and just they couldn't figure out what to do. Finally, they had to set up defenses just to slow him down and get him, to slow him down to 1,500 yards a season, and it was just impossible. You couldn't believe he was doing what he was doing. So yeah, a lot of great players. I always mention when people bring up running backs, I said there's Herschel and Bo, and then there's everybody else. And but that was incredible watching him play.
Tony Barnhart is our guest, Mr. College Football, just for a couple more minutes. Big picture, very open-ended here. Like, is college football getting better? There's a lot. The last 10 years have been as transformative as any in the history of the sport. Is it getting better?
Yes, and the irony of all of this, Hunt, is that for all the problems we have off the field in the game as it's played on the field that we see every Saturday is better than it's ever been. It's an incredible game. It always delivers. Now there's some accounting issues that we got to work our way through. We've got to get some structure, but when the games start, there's nothing. The quality of the product is incredible.
So I got a buddy text me 2 days before the Sugar Bowl, Ole Miss and Georgia in the playoffs this past, and he goes, "I got an extra ticket. You want to come?" I was like, "Yes." Every game I go to, I work football, basketball, baseball. I'm just going to go and drink a beer in the upper deck. I can't wait. And I went to the game, and I came back and did my show the next day, and I opened the show. I said, there are problems all over the place we can talk about, but when you get in that building, it's just I had so much fun watching that game.
It is an incredible enterprise. And I've always believed that college football is so good, so strong that not even the adults can screw it up. Now we're making a heck of a run at it, I'll tell you that right now. But we're going to get there. I don't know if we're going to have Congress's help to get there, because that's a whole nother set of problems that we're dealing with. But the game is great, and with all the conversations that we're having, once the games start, it's like I'm not going to think about that stuff anymore. I'm thinking about the games.
Where can people find your book when it comes out in the spring?
It's published by the University of Georgia Press. That's done a couple of my other books, and it will be available in spring and summer of next year. It'll be on Amazon. We hope to be back at this event in Nashville next year, selling the book. Do that. So. Yep, I'm looking forward to it.
We will certainly be reading it. We appreciate a little bit of time. Safe travels back home, Mark.
Thank you, Hunt. Appreciate it.
That is Tony Barnhart, Mr. College Football, giving us a little bit of time here from Radio Row in Tampa, Florida. I want to remind you about Fabry Chevrolet GMC, online at FabryChevrolet.com. That is FabryChevrolet.com. The entire inventory is online there at FabryChevrolet.com. So you can check it out there, sort any which way you'd like. You want a new, used, pre-owned, they got them. You want to search by mileage, price, you can do it. Make and model, they got you covered there as well, and they've got some unbelievable deals. GMC is offering employee pricing on the 2026 GMC Sierra 1500 Denali's now until August 3rd. You can get up to $8,000 off of select Denali's, so get on by and see them there at Fabry Chevrolet GMC. Our Tuesday show is brought to you by Immense IT Cloud Management. We got a lot to get to here over the course of the next 90 minutes or so. Appreciate Tony Barnhart for giving us a little bit of time there. It's always a pleasure to talk to him. And I was anxious to ask him about the all-time player that he most wanted to watch. And look, Herschel Walker, it's a guy I would have liked to watch. I was maybe hoping for a little Joe Burrow, but didn't quite get there. But I agree with him about college towns, Starkville, Oxford, Athens. That's the one thing that I don't like is too strong a verbiage. I love everything about LSU. I love my alma mater. I love sports teams. But I do wish at times that there was a college town feel to it. Baton Rouge doesn't feel like a college town. It's a city, has a college in it. When you go to these places like Starkville, like Oxford, like Auburn, like Athens, it's just a different feel. And I love so much being in Starkville for that baseball weekend, even though LSU lost all 3 games. I just liked that feel. I hadn't been to a college town in a while, and I'm hoping to start doing a little bit more of that. I'm going to try. I think LSU's probably going to play Arkansas on the road in baseball this coming year, because LSU and Arkansas did not play this past season, and the year before that, Arkansas was in Baton Rouge. So if LSU's in Fayetteville for baseball, I'm going to try to get up there and catch that weekend series. But always a treat to talk to Tony Barnhart. Appreciate him for giving us a little bit of time here on this Tuesday. We're brought to you by FMOL Health, Our Lady of the Lake, Parish Construction and Roofing, Relief Windows, and Rev Fiber. We'll take a time out. When we come back, David Epps, President and CEO of the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, will sit down with us. What are the future of these kickoff games at the beginning of seasons? What about the NIL aspect of the Peach Bowl, which is different this year moving forward? It's David's first year as president and CEO, with Gary Stokan moving on, so we'll talk to him when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Always love telling you about Marucci as well. Join the Hitter's House. Take some hacks. Could be raining, could be 100 degrees, doesn't matter. Not in the Hitter's House. If you've got a youth baseball, youth softball player under your roof that wants to improve, wants to continue working on his or her game, wants to take some swings in the batting cage, join the Hitter's House over at Marucci. You get 24/7 access to their cages, to their pitching facility, whenever you want it. It's there for you at Marucci. You can also take a tour, learn where the official bat of Major League Baseball is made. 1,200 every single day. You can see where they're shipped out to the best players in the world. It's all there at Marucci. Check them out online at MarucciSports.com. MarucciSports.com.
Live from the 2026 SEC Football Media Days in Tampa. Presented by Parish Construction and Roofing. FMOL Health, Our Lady of the Lake. Relief Windows. And Rev Fiber.
Chugging along here from Radio Row SEC Media Days 2026 from Tampa, Florida. Of course, last year we were in Atlanta, Georgia, the College Football Hall of Fame, also home of the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. It's now our pleasure to welcome in the president and CEO of the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, David Epps. His first year as the president and CEO, but certainly not your first year with the Chick-fil-A Bowl. How long have you been with the bowl?
Well, I appreciate the congratulations. I have been here since 1994.
Whew.
I started as an intern right out of grad school and, did every job in the company. Now I get the shot to do this one.
LSU's had some fond memories in the Peach Bowl over the years. A lot of them on the field, one of them in the tunnel with Miami. I'm curious when you think about LSU's run in the Chick-fil-A Bowl over the years, what comes to mind?
Oh, man, we have so many good memories with LSU, and a lot of the memories that we make are the game, but a lot of them are also the people.
Yeah.
LSU has special people, not only running the programs, but the fans and the players. So, even in our kickoff game, we've had LSU play some memorable games. But I think back to that game in 2005, which was just fantastic with, Flynn and Hester and, Flynn, I think, threw for almost 200 yards and Jacob Hester ran for 70, and they just demolished a Miami team.
I didn't see that one coming with the backup quarterback.
Nobody did. And then I think there was another game. Rohan Davey got his first start in our game, threw an amazing back of the end zone pass to
Josh Reed.
And
Scott flying through the air.
Unbelievable. In my mind, that's one of our top 5 individual plays in the history of our bowl game, was that catch by Reed. And then I won't talk about the negative memory of the last game against Clemson, but
not as good.
We love the Tigers in Atlanta.
I've never had more fun watching a football game than LSU and Oklahoma in that semifinal. Like, most times you get into a game and there's a stress level to it, right? There's no stress. It was just a touchdown every 5 minutes to Justin Jefferson from Joe Burrow. That was as relaxed as I've ever been. And it was a national semifinal, but it's like, well, they can't stop us. So
what was cool about that, and we had the same exact experience last year with Indiana in our game and Fernando, where you had 2 absolute elite quarterbacks and really good receivers and top to bottom the roster. And you just had the sense that you were watching a coronation, honestly. And that 2019 semi was something to behold.
A lot of Tiger fans in a sense for that one. David Epps is our guest president and CEO of the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. Also the Aflac Kickoff, which will feature obviously Baylor and Auburn this year on that first Saturday in September. I want to talk about that game, but also the obvious question is how long are these games going to be around as coach? I mean, Lane Kiffin in Baton Rouge has said, like, we're basically not going to play very difficult non-conference games if they make us play 9 SEC games. So, I mean, y'all hear that. What is your reaction to it?
Yeah, it's definitely an issue. I think we'd be naive to believe that it's as easy as it was in 2007 when, Dabo and Nick would say, we'll play anybody, anywhere, anytime. Right. And that was the approach. And now, with the 9 conference games, with the money that athletic departments are pouring into developing the home stadium experience, whether it's more premium seating or it's building nice tiger habitats, or whether it's having tailgating area, they want to keep these games on campus. And the icing on the cake is now coaches not being sure whether it's more important to have a quality loss, so to speak, versus having 10 wins. And, you look at last year where Texas lost that game to Ohio State, first week of the season, everybody was questioning them in December. If they had been a 10-win team in December, they're probably in.
Right.
So I think it's a concern for all these cities. There will be some out there. I'm not sure they're going to be available every year the way they used to be, but the pendulum swings awfully fast, so we'll see what the college football landscape ends up looking like.
No question about that. And LSU's played in a lot of these games over the years and has played in Atlanta in this game, and we'll see if it continues. But you do have Baylor and Auburn this year in Atlanta. You do have Ole Miss that's playing Louisville in a neutral site as well, so they're still around in capacity. What can you tell us about Baylor and Auburn coming in this year?
Well, I think as a SEC fan, you got a really interesting Auburn team here, in the sense that expectations have been low. Alex Golish is all about redefining what that culture is. and with Byron Brown, and I think he brought 40 players with him from his previous stop. I think they're ready to play. Now, Baylor, Aranda bring in DJ Lagway. I mean, this kid's legit. He didn't pan out at Florida, but, new face in a new place sometimes. You can see what happened there. So my personal opinion is these are two teams who are jockeying for position in the middle of their conferences, but I think both have bigger upsides than most people want to give them. So I think should be a good matchup. This is a fairly close game when they played last year. And, we're looking forward to it. It'll be a fun Labor Day weekend.
A lot of Dave Aranda fans in Baton Rouge after his time at LSU and was the defensive coordinator on that 2019 team for sure. What's the future of the college football playoff, and how involved is the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl in what that is going to look like moving forward?
Well, we're not involved in any of the decision making. We certainly express our opinions and our thoughts, but our job in all this is really to make sure that we serve the needs of college football, the conferences, the CFP, the coaches and players and fans and media, because there's so many ways that the postseason could go. We feel like there's a nice balance now of having some home playoff and also preserving a little bit of the tradition and playing in a nationally respected neutral site bowl game. And, for the next 6 years, we're locked in for that, and I think we got a chance to show that even if it goes to 16 or 24, you can still have both and satisfy fans who want that special on-campus experience, but also create some of those memories through a bowl that otherwise you wouldn't have.
How's the attendance been, the energy around the games when you host a playoff game that's not the national title? Because something that we talk about from the outside looking in is, like, if you're a fan and you want to go see your team make a playoff run, like, it can be really expensive. If you're an Ole Miss fan and you're going to New Orleans and then out to Arizona and then down to Miami, like, that can get, like, so have you all seen really good attendance for those quarterfinal, semifinal games?
We've been pretty lucky in Atlanta, and I think part of that is due to the geography of where we are. We're so close that the travel costs get mitigated a little bit. If you're an ACC or SEC team, and some of the Big Ten teams, you can make that drive. But we all have to be aware of that. I mean, disposable income is not unlimited. And, I was a fan first before I had this job, so I always put myself in the mind of a fan who has to make that call. And, the smallest crowd we've had was 2 years ago when we had Arizona State and Texas. And we weren't sold out, but we were still pretty close. And two teams from way, way out of our general area, and we did okay. But I think what's going to be an interesting wrinkle now is this will be the first year that the top three seeds get to have some input in which quarter and or semi they go to. So that may mitigate a few of the geographical issues.
That's interesting. And the quarterback that day for Arizona State, Sam Levitt, will be in Baton Rouge.
That's right.
For the Tigers this year. The last thing I wanted to talk to you about, and I appreciate your time so much, is the NIL aspect of your bowl game. I read a little bit about it. I don't know if I fully grasp it. Can you kind of fill us in on what y'all's plan is for that moving forward?
I can, yeah. It's around the Aflac kickoff game. And you're talking a few minutes ago about how tough it is to make a neutral site game appealing for a school and a coach now. This is one way that we think we can do it, which is tell a team, look, if you'll come play in our Aflac kickoff game, we will take some of the money that we might normally have guaranteed you to come play in our game. And instead we'll use that to do real NIL with your players. And I emphasize real NIL because I think what we're doing is what NIL was intended to do, which is take players, pay them the fair market value, and then have them help us promote the Aflac kickoff game ticket sales and viewership and event attendance. So that's the model. And so if you haven't already seen, you'll see Auburn football players helping us promote all those things. And I think there's a way here to take the good intention of NIL and still make it work the way it was intended.
How has that been received by the teams?
Really good. I mean, I think we're building a new mousetrap, right? It hasn't been done before in college football. And
it makes all the sense in the world.
It's a lot more complicated than we thought. But everything is when you're doing something new. So as we build this, I can tell you a lot of athletic directors and coaches are expressing curiosity about it.
Good.
I think maybe a few folks who had said, we're probably not going to look at neutrals in the future. This at least raises an eyebrow to say, well, why don't you tell me a little more about that?
For sure. And look, you got cheerleaders in all the fans. We want these games. We want to see big-time matchups in great venues and great cities and that kind of thing. Coaches are trying to get in the playoffs. And so it's a different motivation. But, again, I won't take any more of your time. Certainly really appreciate you for giving to us. And we'll be watching Baylor and Auburn coming up moving forward.
And my pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
He's David Epps, President and CEO of the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. We'll come back, talk some South Carolina Gamecocks with Chris Marler. That is next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Boudreaux's Electrical Services. You can check them out online at boudreauxelectrical.com. Neil and Melissa have been running the show there for 40 years. If you need a Generac home standby generator, you got to reach out to Boudreaux's Electrical Services. The time to do that is now. It is not after the storm rolls through and you're sitting in a hot house that has no lights. That's not what you want, and we've all been there in this part of the world. So reach out to Boudreaux's Electrical. Have them come out to your home. Have them come out to your business. If you would like to get involved with a commercial generator, they can do that as well. They'll give you a quote. They'll get that installed, and you'll have a local team there right there every step of the way to manage and monitor that generator. If there's an issue, technically, they'll come out and fix it so that you are taken care of. It's Boudreaux's Electrical. You can find them online at boudreauxelectrical.com. Give them a call, 985-397-1562. That's 985-397-1562 or 225-300-9389. That's Boudreaux's Electrical Services.
Live from the 2026 SEC Football Media Days in Tampa. Presented by FMOL Health, Our Lady of the Lake, Relief Windows, Rev Fiber, and Parrish Construction and Roofing.
Every Tuesday, we're brought to you by Immense Cloud IT Management. If your IT staff is overworked or maybe not capable of handling everything that you have on your plate, call Immense. That doesn't mean you have to replace your IT. You can just have them help. And certainly Immense can help you with break and fix, but they also can partner with you and monitor your systems, monitor your servers proactively so that you don't have cyber breaches, that you don't have significant loss, whether that's information or financial. Immense can help you with cybersecurity. It's not something that a lot of people consider all the time, but it can be very, very, very important. So check them out online at immense.net. It's Immense Cloud IT Management. They bring our Tuesday shows online at immense.net. Chris Marler, LouisianaSports.net, also locked on Gamecocks. It is South Carolina Day. Joins us here. How are you, sir?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
Are you fantastic? Because it feels like you're stressing out a little bit.
Very stressed out right now.
You don't need to be, because there's no rule that says you have to grab the microphone.
I'm going to grab the microphone.
Are you going to ask him about fireworks?
Okay, so here's the thing. I have three questions I want to ask. And
Okay.
one of them doesn't really have a question attached to it. You know, this segment is going to be you walking me through how to be a journalist.
Okay, good.
All right.
I'm here for it.
So I was going to say they've got five. South Carolina has five of their top 11 recruits all time are on this year's roster. I don't have a question, though. I just, I feel like he'll like me if I say that.
So are you going to...
That's journalism 101.
You gotta say, so you better win or else you're fired?
Yeah. What am I going to say? Do you think that raised the floor to the roster? Because it certainly did.
Do you feel like this is your most talented team? How about that?
Oh,
if you start with that, say, hey, there's 5 of your top whatever recruits. Do you feel like that makes this as a talented team as you've had?
Okay, that's good. Thank you. Now the other
Dylan
one.
Stewart, Nick Harbor, Lenore Sellers.
No. Lenore's wasn't one of the top ones.
Who is it?
Darius Gray, left tackle Josiah Thompson.
Okay.
Who's five? Julian Walker, the edge rusher. I mean, it's been a good recruiting run here. I think the other one, and Rivers, you can weigh in on this since you're here and you care about my success. If I asked Shane Beamer, I said, if you guys have Tennessee back on the schedule this year, last time you played them, you scored so many points, you literally ran out of fireworks in the stadium. They come back to Williams-Brice this year. Are you looking forward to getting them back on the schedule? And also, did we up the budget for fireworks just in case? That's a better question, right? That's the one.
This is an environment over 4 days that can get a little bit stale. No one else is going to ask about fireworks. I think you go for it. And guess what? What's the worst thing that can happen?
You know,
he thinks it's a bad question, and everybody kind of looks at you like you're an idiot. Like, who cares?
Here's the thing, though. I've never trusted my instincts on almost anything, and nor should I. There's no reason to. The track record is the track record. So every time we come to media days and I prepare a question, last year I felt like I was on fire. I was like, I asked hypo stuff.
Last year you just held your hand up all day.
Yeah, that's what Matt told me to
Chris
do.
Morrow, LouisianaSports.net.
Yeah.
Chris Morrow, LouisianaSports.net.
And it was like, but so then by day 4, I was feeling myself a little bit. And that was not a week that I felt confident in anything, like all week. and so we get to Thursday. I remember I showed up, I was wearing a hat. For some reason, I asked Eli, there was a corgi on it. I was like, it was all bad.
How much did Matt hate it?
It was not good. And then Eli Drinkwitz came up, and I was like, Eli Drinkwitz is a big fan of Celsius. And I know that because he was holding a box of Celsius, walking around like one year at media day. So I was like, you guys play Kansas again this year. Like, big rivalries back on the schedule. Big schedule guy. What Celsius are you going to have that morning to get ready for? Because I know you're a big fan. He's like, I don't drink Celsius. And I was like, sick. All right. Like,
yeah, that's a tough look.
Yeah. So every time I'm confident about something, it goes very poorly.
Well, we'll see. You got 5 minutes to prepare yourself.
He will send me, because he does our social media. He does a great job at our social media. He will send me a text and say, hey, what do you think about this tweet? And he's so excited about it, I can tell. And I'm like, no, absolutely don't do that. He's like, you're right. Never. I would never post that.
Terrible idea.
All right, I'm going to do the fireworks question. All right.
I need to know something about South Carolina. Is Lenore Sellers good?
He is good.
They're
going to be very good this year. Here's the thing.
Was there any evidence last year that he was good?
Nope, but the offensive coordinator's gone. Kendall Briles there. Kendall Briles. So South Carolina is 20-3 under Shane Beamer when they put up over 400 yards of offense.
Okay.
Now, that's not a benchmark that should wow anybody, but they've only done it, I think, 15 times in SEC play under Beamer.
Yeah.
And they did it 23 times total. But when they do that, they win games. The defense has been very, very good over the last several years, and it's like not like a stifling, you're not going to run the ball, move the ball on us, but they forced the most turnovers out of anybody in the SEC over the last 5 years with 110. They put 8 DBs in the league in the last 6 years. Like they have been very talented at those positions. They finally have a lot of really good depth in the interior defensive line. They did a good job in the portal with some of the guys they got there. They returned all their linebackers. I mean, they've got good players. Can the offensive line not be atrocious? And now that Mike Shula is gone, and you bring in Kendall Briles, and I don't think Kendall Briles is Charlie Weiss Jr. I don't think he's, I don't think he's even Mike Bobo. But I do think that you're going to have such a significant increase in your offense. And the schedule, it is the easiest schedule they've had in 10 years. Now, it's still hard, but it's the easiest one they've had in 10 years.
My take is that the loser of the Mississippi State-South Carolina game on September 19th, that head coach will not be at SEC Media Days next year in Nashville.
And then Arkansas head coach Shane Beamer will be.
Oh, man.
I think that's a good point.
Brian Silverfield. He's year one.
Brian Silverfield.
It's Ryan.
Brian Silverfox.
Silverfox.
I called him Adam Silverfield in an article, and no one caught it.
Exactly. That's exactly the point. What does Shane Beamer need to do this year?
I think he's got to win at least 7 games to keep his job. And I think he will, but I think he's got to win at least 7 games to keep his job. And here's the thing that I am really high on South Carolina for is they've got they're not notoriously rich and full of funds, but what they do have right now is about $10 million in NIL deals that are kind of tethered to just four people. Lenore Sellers, Dylan Stewart, Nick Harbor, Jakarius Peak. All 4 of those guys are going to be in the NFL draft next year, right? That means that you have this influx of cash that's coming in that you are finally going to be able to go into the portal, and also they're doing the recruiting class right now, and go pay top-end talent. They got Josh Dobson away from A&M and LSU, the 5-star cornerback.
Did he commit?
Yeah.
No, I didn't know that.
On July 4th.
He definitely should have gone to LSU because he's a defensive back. But he didn't.
South Carolina's put more defensive backs in the league than LSU has in the last 6 years.
I don't care. LSU's better.
Okay.
TBU.
They're not TBU.
What?
They're not.
LSU's not TBU?
No.
Oh, this is we could go an hour.
They've put less DBs in the league.
They're all awesome.
Sure, they are awesome, but they're not.
They're all awesome.
I'm not going to tell you who I think TBU is.
I know who you think it is, and it's certainly not.
Well, let's
those guys stink in the NFL. Drake Kirkpatrick.
Everyone from that team stinks in the NFL. The offensive linemen. Am I yelling? I feel like I'm yelling. The offensive linemen are. That's the worst part.
All right, are you going to ask Shane Beamer this question?
Yeah.
All right, we're all very excited. So let's see how it goes.
Wish me luck, guys. I'm going to come back in here crying.
Just going to open the door, sobbing. Everybody's going to be pointing. There's going to be tomatoes flying in. Chris Marler, LouisianaSports.net, and Locked On Gamecocks. He's headed into the main ballroom to ask Shane Beamer about fireworks. I think it's a reasonable question. I'm for livening things up. There's a lot of the same questions. And if I'm being pretty honest, I haven't asked a question in the main ballroom yet, but some of the questions stink. Some of the questions are bad. And I think that one is a little bit of a fresh perspective. So let's hope Chris Chris delivers with that. Let me tell you about First American Bank and Trust before we get out of here and close out hour number 1. First American Bank and Trust started up in 1910, 116 years for First American Bank and Trust, and they've moved to 25 locations throughout Southeast Louisiana. So there's always one near you. If you're in St. Tammany or Tangipahoa up I-12, maybe St. James, St. John, Lafourche, Terrebonne, there's a First American Bank and Trust right there for you. If you're looking for a commercial loan, a personal loan, First American Bank and Trust, every single decision is made locally. That is incredibly, incredibly comforting to know that if you're applying for a commercial loan, you're applying for a personal loan for the home of your dreams, you're not calling San Francisco or Atlanta, you're calling Southeast Louisiana. And you're dealing with someone whose kids go to school with yours, who goes to church with you on Sunday. That's the local feel of First American Bank and Trust. And when you think community bank, don't think small. 25 locations suggests otherwise. First American Bank and Trust are online at fabt.com. That is a fast-moving first hour. Tony Barnhart was with us at 1:15. Just a great storyteller. 50 years covering the Southeastern Conference. Has a book coming out this spring. He was fantastic with us a little bit earlier. David Epps, President and CEO of the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, as well as the Aflac kickoff game. Gave us a little bit of time. Chris Marler with us as well. So that was a busy first hour full of guests. If you missed any of it, catch it on demand. All of our content is on demand this week. Just search Hunt Palmer Show. You can like, subscribe, rate, review. We always appreciate y'all helping us out with that. We're all over social media this week as well. Our trip here to Tampa was brought to us by FMOL Health, Our Lady of the Lake, Parish Construction and Roofing, Relief Windows, and Rev Fiber. They got us here all week long. Today's action is South Carolina, Georgia, Auburn, and Vanderbilt. As I mentioned at the top of the show, not a day that's full of LSU content. LSU only plays one of those 4 teams. It is Auburn. LSU doesn't play South Carolina, doesn't play Georgia, doesn't play Vanderbilt. So from that angle, just not a ton of for us to chew on, but certainly some teams that do have interesting storylines. I think Shane Beamer's coaching for his job at South Carolina. Kirby Smart is fielding questions about how Georgia slipped, despite the fact that they've won the SEC 2 years in a row. So that's a pretty high bar that Kirby has set there. We'll talk to Bryce Kuhn about that coming up. And also Vanderbilt was answering some questions about the life post Diego Pavia, as well as trying to get into the college football playoff, which is just a wild thing that I never thought I would have said 3 summers ago, but that's where Clark Lee kind of elevated things over the last couple of seasons. 2 really strong years for Vanderbilt. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. We got a busy hour number 2. We got to talk LSU linebacker play in our in-depth chart series. We'll talk to Bryce Kuhn about the Georgia Bulldogs coming up in about 5 minutes.
The Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show.
Stick with us right here. We're brought to you by Lifetime Roofing, online at lifetimeroofingla.com. That's lifetimeroofingla.com. If you need a roof, Lifetime Roofing can help you out with that, obviously. But it's not just roofs. They also do siding. They also do windows. They also do gutters, professional installation of all of those. If you reach out at lifetimeroofingla.com, it's a Louisiana-based company that cares about their community. They do roof giveaways for service members every single year. And they know that oftentimes when they're called into work for roofing, you've got a potential crisis at that time, whether it's a weather event or something else. And they know they're here to serve the people of South Louisiana. So if you're looking for a new roof and you want a lifetime workmanship warranty on that roof, check out my friends at Lifetime Roofing, a lifetime warranty that includes the craftsmanship as well as the labor. It's Lifetime Roofing. They're online at lifetimeroofingla.com.